Well, that's another interesting thing about adultery in the Bible is for a woman to sleep with another man was always adultery, but a man could take many wives. So here we have a very anti-woman piece of the Ten Commandments.
That sounds like a rule invented by men, not God.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like some guy wrote that down? Like, all right, how can I make this where I can fuck as many women as I want, but they can only fuck me?
Now, first of all, before we go in any further into this, we are definitely 100% not taking away from anyone who benefits from religion, whatever that religion is. We are talking about the religion itself, the, if not current practices, but previous practices of religion, and especially the powers that be of whatever religion. So, with that said, all right, so how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. So, find anything interesting over this week?
I've got one.
What's that?
Well, I shared it with you just a couple minutes ago, so you could see this too.
Oh, this Roy Moore thing.
Yeah, Roy Moore, just for reference here, he is the Republican Senate candidate for Jeff Sessions' vacant seat.
Out of Alabama.
Out of Alabama.
Of course.
Very likely to win because Alabama is an extremely conservative state. His Democrat opponent doesn't have too much of a shot.
Okay.
So, recently, in his Time interview, stated that people should recognize the sovereignty of God because that's what gives us the right to believe what we want. And that's
kind of counter.
Yeah, it's backwards, right? Because
the sovereignty in God is why we can believe in whatever we want.
The direct quote, I'm looking at it from Time right now, is I talk to liberals and I tell them this. I say you should be recognizing the sovereignty of God. That's what gives you the right to believe what you want. That's
so stupid.
That's in the first 4 commandments. He literally states that's in the first 4 commandments. The first 4 commandments say the fucking opposite. It's like
the first 4 commandments say, I am the only God, basically.
Yeah, it's like, I am the Lord your God, you'll have no other gods before me. That's number 1.
The first 4 commandments say, no, fuck your beliefs, this is what you should believe. What the fuck is he saying?
I don't know. It's one of these things where I wonder if he's read it himself, or at least what loopy interpretation of them he's using.
All right, I'm looking at this article here. It says that, well, he can't. There's no way he could forget what they say because he has them all over his house.
Yeah, he's got them over his bed. I mean, what do you think that's like? What do you think that's like for his wife? Like,
maybe she likes reading them while she's riding them. Don't say God, don't say God, don't say God!
Is that what the cowboy hat's for?
Yeah, this guy, let's see, he's wearing this leather vest and a fucking cowboy hat.
Yeah, dude really does look like, if nobody's ever seen a picture of this guy, dude looks like an extra from a fucking John Wayne movie.
Oh my god.
He really does.
He looks straight from a time machine.
Yeah, I could think of like a 60s... I feel like I've seen a guy that looks just like him leaned up on a bar in every 60s era Western I ever watched.
So this guy is running for... Okay, he's a Senate candidate. All right.
U.S. Senate, not Alabama Senate, U.S. Senate.
U.S. Senate, okay. Well,
yeah,
actually,
United States Senate.
I have the video here. Let's listen to the video real quick. Let's see what he has to say.
It's been very hard for my wife and myself to wither 2, nearly 3 months of negative ads that we couldn't answer with money because we didn't have it. Ads that were completely false. That I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment.
So this guy he just pulled out a gun on stage saying that he believes in the Second Amendment.
That's so goofy too. It's just like, I believe in the Second Amendment. Pulls out pistol.
I believe in the Second Amendment. See, look at it.
Look at my gun.
And the audience cheered as if, he just said something profound. So this guy, who's probably like a legit fundamentalist, right?
I mean, you kind of have to be to say some of the stuff he does. Oh, I'll give you one piece of background on Roy Moore too. He was removed from his post as Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court.
Why?
For refusing to remove a monument to the Ten Commandments he installed in the state courthouse, and for ordering state judges not to issue same-sex marriage certificates, which was at the time in violation of, the federal Supreme Court decision that did give the right for gay marriage. So,
I'm reading here. He says he also thinks that NFL players who protest the national anthem are breaking the law. No, sir, they're not.
That's another thing. It's actually not, because our flag code, it states that people should stand with their hand over their heart, not that they are required to. We're not North Korea. You are not required to stand and worship the flag whenever you see it.
Okay, so basically, this guy who's running for U.S. Senate, basically his idea of breaking the law is anything that he disagrees with. Doesn't that sound like a dangerous recipe to you?
It most certainly does. I mean, and he also claims that our laws come from the Ten Commandments. There are only two of the 10 that are relevant to our laws. Thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal. Those are the only two that have any relevance to our laws. And, in fact, one of the 10 Commandments, if you don't break it, we don't have an economy. The very last one, the 10th.
Thou shalt not covet.
Yeah, coveting. We are a capitalist economy. We run on coveting. Like, you see that nice car that, your neighbor just got, and you're like, fuck, I want one of those. It's
kind of like the building block to motivation in a way. Like, I want this, so I have to work towards it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it motivates people to produce. The want to have more motivates people to want to do more to attain what they want in this world. So, I mean, without feeling that feeling of like, man, I want that big house and that nice car too, like, do people push themselves as far?
We'll never know. I think it's too deeply ingrained in our society to change it. There's also the whole, worshiping false idols thing that definitely in this country, I mean, anyone who has read a tabloid or anyone that looks up to, basically anyone who looks up to anyone other than God, you're worshiping false idols.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, there's the expanded text of that also says not to take to yourself any graven image, which that could be interpreted, depending on how you want, to even crucifixes and these big paintings of Jesus that you see on church walls and all that.
How would they make money?
Whenever you see somebody like praying in front of those and all that, that could actually be a form of idolatry, depending on how you want to interpret that text. So, I mean,
that's the weirdest thing about, especially the Ten Commandments, and how, depending on what version you're reading, the words are in some sort of old, broken English because they've been translated countless times. But when you read something like it says right here, "Thou shalt not make unto thee in any graven image." Now, you could interpret that the way you just said, but we could also interpret that, of worshiping false idols. So it's, yeah, to say that our country's laws are based off these commandments, do you even know what they are actually saying?
Yeah, and the thing that made me chuckle so hard was just seeing that he said that that's why liberals should recognize the sovereignty of God, is that that's what gives them the right to believe what they want to believe. And the first 4 commandments do anything but that. That's
so stupid.
They say the exact opposite if you actually read what they say.
I don't know what to think about this guy.
I mean, the reality, though, like, the real thing, the reality, and the thing that makes me a little bit angry and a little bit concerned is that most likely this person will be one of 100 senators in the United States Senate. This guy will be a vote. Because of where he's from, this guy's going 6 years. Senate post is 6 years. This guy's going to have a voice in American law and policy making.
Who else is there, though? I mean, especially in Alabama, who is notoriously known. I mean, it's pretty much a comedic stereotype that they're Bible-thumping Christians.
Well, his primary opponent was a bit more of a moderate Republican. Not quite so out there, but that primary is already over, and he's already, won the Republican primary.
He was too moderate. You need to be more certain in your faith, apparently.
Faith and, I guess, right-wing opinions. But here's the thing. That's a bit of a trend now, isn't it? Going a bit more toward the far end of the spectrum, and not just on the right. The left is pretty guilty of it too. People going toward the more extreme ends of the political spectrum with their opinions instead of.
I see what you're saying, and I have a theory about that. I think because that's what the media is paying attention to, that people or certain groups, whatever the case is, that they feel like they have to do that, some sort of extremist act or belief or, something like that just to get attention.
Maybe that, or maybe it's reactionary. Maybe they see it in the media and they're just like, oh man, the left is pulling really hard this way. We got to pull back that way.
Yeah,
and then, of course, the left sees it and does the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It becomes like sort of a vicious cycle in that respect.
It could be extremely reactionary based on a certain perception, but it seems like the pattern here is, instead of having, a dialogue or a discourse, is to go, hard right or hard left with a lot of the opinions. And at least that's what I'm seeing in the media. I'm seeing a whole lot of hard right and a whole lot of hard left.
I don't know, man.
I like to think that the system that we put in place a couple centuries ago is strong enough to prevent this sort of thing from going too crazy. But Roy Moore in there actually talks about Senate being able to remove a Supreme Court justice if they're not doing their job. Well, what is their job?
Yeah, I don't know. It could just be a symptom of having too much media, because you have, of course, the mainstream media, then you have all of these, in quotes, alternative news sources. Could be full of shit, could be legit. You never really know.
Wait, you mean Conservative News Daily is not an unbiased reporting source?
Conservative? Of course not.
Shit, man. Well, what about Occupy Democrats? They're not biased.
I would think they have more moderate views towards everything.
Of course. I mean, it's not like they put their political party in their name.
I mean, they should, yeah. I don't know. I just see it sort of, as of current, I just see it spiraling out of control, and I just see it coming to a head in some way. But
hey, maybe we'll get a libertarian president. Nah, that'll never happen.
That'll never happen. What are you talking about? Shut up.
But taxation is theft.
Okay.
Never mind. Old thing Ron Paul said. Since I was talking about libertarians, I had to bring it up.
A lot of people who say, you don't have to pay taxes, right? They like to quote him. But you do have to pay taxes.
Do I think we waste tax money? Yes. Do I think taxation is theft? No. Why? I like having roads.
Exactly. I like, Now, as far as, big government versus small government, I don't know. That's why I don't really identify as left-wing or right-wing. I don't know. All I know is that the good things that tax money does go to, I want those things.
Yeah, but then whenever a state gives, say, $60 million to a guy to build a scale model of the Ark, you want your money back, right?
Oh my God, is that a thing?
Dude, do you not know about that?
No!
You don't know about the Ark project?
No.
Holy shit, dude. Okay, this is going to be fun.
How much money?
Okay, the thing has cost over $100 million, but
oh my God.
It's you got $62 million from a Williamstown bond and $36 million from individual donations, which I'm fine with the $36 million. If people want to waste their money to build a giant boat that doesn't even float, that's fucking cool. It's your money. But
my God.
Let me.
I see it here. I'm on. I think I'm on the actual website. Arkencounter.com if anyone wants to check it out themselves. What the actual fuck are we doing?
This is built by a guy, by the way, that thinks there were dinosaurs on the Ark.
Okay, hold on. There's something right here. Explore Bible history. Okay. That's assuming the stuff in the Bible actually happened the way it said it happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. Ken Ham, the guy who he owns Answers in Genesis, which their young Earth creationists believe the Earth is literally 6,000 years old and that everything that's in the Bible is true. So, crazy already. But, get this one. Dinosaurs are among the models presented. Dude thinks there were dinosaurs on the Ark. He got $60 million of taxpayer money for this shit.
First of all, here's my problem with the Ark, and I remember thinking this back when I was still what you would call religious. I was a little kid, so But I remember learning about the story of the Ark in Bible school, and just thinking to myself, that doesn't really make sense because in the Bible they give the dimensions of the Ark, right?
Yeah. The size of the Ark is clearly labeled. I was actually going to ask if you had ever seen one of the image comparisons of the Ark compared to just say the Titanic.
I haven't, but in the Bible they give you the dimensions of the Ark. Okay, you can take that and then try to imagine two of every animal in the entire world squeezing into that. I mean, that alone, just like, wait a minute. And then you add dinosaurs to the mix. Oh my God, this guy.
Yeah, this dude thinks there was a goddamn brontosaurus on the Ark.
Okay, I think I don't know the actual dimensions of the Ark in my head, but I would imagine that a dinosaur that big would be bigger than the fucking Ark.
Well, the Ark would be, as it's described, pretty big, but it wouldn't be the biggest ship in history. Nowhere near it, in fact. But in the idea that every single species on Earth could be placed in it, I'm actually going to since you've never seen it, I'm actually going to send it real quick.
Okay, but I mean, I've heard the argument before. Well, there was just less animals in the world at that time. No, there wasn't. No, there fucking wasn't. You can look at archaeological data and see that there were more animals back then.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're talking about. We've had quite a few species go extinct since that time period.
Right, and
so
this is so stupid. We're spending our money on this. Now, hold on. Whose taxes is going towards this? What is this, Kentucky? I think I saw.
Yep.
So, if you live in Kentucky, this is what you're paying for.
Which is I just put it in the Skype chat, by the way, the Ark size comparison thing, so you can see it.
Okay.
To ships that have existed today, in fact, even dating back to the Titanic. But yeah, and that's interesting because that's Rand and Ron Paul's state. So I'm sure they're just loving this usage of the state's dollars. But
okay, so the image that John just sent me. It shows basically these silhouettes of all these famous ships, and it says that Noah's Ark was approximately 137 meters long. All right. Now, you have the Titanic, the USS Missouri, the aircraft carrier Nimitz class, and Queen Mary II that are all bigger than that. By a lot.
Yeah, the Queen Mary 2 is the biggest ship we have now.
At 345 meters. Jesus Christ.
Over twice the size of the Ark.
Now, every animal fit on that.
And if I remember right, the Queen Mary 2, I'd have to look it up, but I think it can hold around 4,000 passengers, roughly.
That's still not enough to hold every animal.
Absolutely not. You're talking about you're talking about millions of animal species surviving on a boat for 40 days that was built by an old man.
Very old.
And did the sloth crawl all the way from Australia?
Come on, you asshole, we gotta go!
Yeah, I mean, how much warning did God give the sloth? It's awake for like 6 hours a day. Yeah, it's just a crazy. It's one of these things. It's an obvious myth, but
definitely, if it actually happened, it's definitely been altered, exaggerated. You know, it's like the game of telephone. It's not the exact story. And plus, Noah wasn't even. You have the flood story going back to like I said before, the Sumerians, and you can actually say that there's 5. If I got my numbers right, there's 500 different civilizations across 5 different continents that has a flood story. So something happened, but that story has a lot of holes, and it's probably bullshit.
I mean, either something happened, or the flood myth got spread around a little bit.
How?
Through the ancient world.
How?
Little by little, between bits of contact from small people, stories can spread quite far.
That would assume that there was someone going to every continent, and some of those civilizations had zero contact with outside civilizations.
I'm no expert on the flood myth.
I'm not either. I'm just saying if I remember right, those are the numbers.
As far as I know, it never happened. It definitely never happened like that. There definitely wasn't an old man that preserved every animal species on a boat for 40 days. Definitely didn't happen like that.
Right.
As far as actually whether there's any historical basis for the flood myth, you'd need an expert far smarter than me.
I mean, not to get too much into this topic, but isn't that basically what Randall Carlson is doing?
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do, but I mean, he's also got to get peer reviewed at some point. And I know he believes that they don't want to peer review him, but that's usually not the way science works.
Well, we could go deep into that topic, but anyway, so you ready to move on to the Q&A section?
Yeah, I think we've talked enough about Bronze Age mythology for today.
All right. So, for those listening, we're going to start doing this thing where we're going to basically just answer random questions. And I think we're going to call it something hacky, like Ask Anything. Get it? But basically, you can email us or send us on our Twitter, Facebook, or even on this on the YouTube video. Just send us whatever question. It could be a serious question. It could be a silly question. Whatever. But we have a question here. You want to go ahead and introduce that one?
Oh, yes. The question was a little bit of a two-parter. Was what kind of? I think this was asked on an episode where we talked a little bit about kombucha.
Okay.
And it was, what kind of kombucha is your favorite, and also what would you recommend for somebody who hasn't drank it before?
Okay. First of all, in that episode, I was giving John shit because I said kombucha is gross. Now...
Oh, have you learned something since then?
Yes. After that episode, I decided, you know what? It was a long time since I had kombucha, and it was regular flavored, like it wasn't flavored at all. So I decided to try it again, and I got a flavored one. And it was really, really good. So, yeah, I've started drinking that.
Yeah,
but
that's...
as far as my favorite, well, there's the brand, Synergy, which is what I usually get, and probably the Trinity. It's kind of like a citrus and ginger type flavor.
Yeah, I've got a bottle of it in my hand right now.
All right.
It's actually the company's called GTs, and Synergy is like one of the product lines.
Okay.
Synergy is the one that's got the Synergy is the product line that's got the alcohol removed, and it's also the one that they combine more flavors into.
Oh, okay.
Because alcohol is a natural byproduct of the fermentation process for kombucha.
Yeast. So
you can have up to like a 2 to 3% alcohol content, but Synergy doesn't. There's a trace amount, but not enough that you'd ever notice it. And that's actually my favorite too. Is the Trilogy.
Trilogy or Trinity? I thought it was Trinity.
It's Trilogy.
Trilogy. I can't read.
I'm dead sure about it because, like I said, there's a bottle of it in my hand. So,
first of all, who asked the question?
That would be my girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Well, thank you, Paige, for your question.
Yes.
But for those who don't know what kombucha is, can you give sort of a brief explanation on what exactly it is?
You would probably know a lot more about the fermentation process and how it's made than I would. But it's basically a fermented tea, pretty much. If I've got that right, is the way that it's made.
Okay.
And due to its fermentation process and what's in it, it has a very high amount of probiotics and bacteria that are normally really healthy for the digestive system, because your stomach, it's not just your stomach acid and your enzymes that do all the work. There's actually bacteria that lives in you that isn't really part of your body, but it lives inside of you, that also assists in the breaking down of food and nutrients for your body.
Right.
So drinking kombucha and also taking probiotics and things can help keep your gut biome healthy. And for me, at least, and someone could throw out and say it's placebo effect if they want to, but I've gone from having regular, really bad acid reflux, like, having to take a fistful of Tums before I go to bed so I can sleep, acid reflux, to practically zero symptoms of it unless I eat something that's just, something that I should have never ate anyway.
So, anyone who's never had kombucha before, it's sort of this little bit tangy, fizzy tea. It's like John said, it's a fermented tea. The ingredients for kombucha is basically a sweet tea, and then this thing that's called a SCOBY. And what a SCOBY is actually an acronym for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And what it does is that the yeast feeds off that sugar, and over time, I believe it takes like a few weeks. It's like a couple weeks to maybe a month for it to ferment. So you can literally make sweet tea, put the SCOBY in a glass jar, of course, cover it, and just leave it to ferment, and you won't have to worry about it going bad or anything. And that's actually where you get the fizziness from, is from the yeast.
I was actually going to say, while you're talking about the fizziness, I was actually going to state that's one other really cool thing about kombucha. If you're trying to drop a lot of sugar and stuff from your diet, and you find yourself kind of missing a nice Coca-Cola or something, the carbonation from it it can remind you a little bit of a soda, give you at least a little bit of that feel while being a lot healthier for you. Yeah,
for sure. It is a lot healthier for you than soda.
Yeah, so if you're going healthy and you miss carbonation, it is that's another kind of perk of it.
Yeah, and the fizziness comes from the yeast, because that's the byproduct of yeast is carbon dioxide. It's actually used in baking as well as a leavening agent. That's why you put yeast in bread and stuff like that. So yeah, it's super healthy for you. And anyone who's interested in trying it, that's our favorites. I recommend not trying an original, like an unflavored version, just because of my experience with it. But
yeah, that's not a good starting point. I like the original now sometimes, but it's one of those things, if that was the first thing I tried, I probably wouldn't have liked it.
Right.
Another one that's a great recommendation for a first-time try is, I believe the flavor, it's also from GT's, called Strawberry Sensation. And that's another really, because it's pretty sweet, and naturally sweet with strawberry juice, so.
Yeah, that was the first one I tried, actually.
Yeah, that's another really good starting point for it because it's a bit sweeter, not as citrusy, so that might be a great one for people. And also, I think they're somewhat local, but I'm not positive. Oh yeah, there's a company called Bucci, Buchi, and they're in what looks like a beer bottle or a root beer bottle. They're smaller than the GT's bottles, but they've got some pretty interesting flavors. Some with spices in them, some with just different combinations of juices, a little bit different flavors from the GT's line. And so far, I've tried 4 of those, and I've liked all 4 of them. So all those are pretty good too. Nice. I actually get those sometimes whenever I'm hanging out with people and I know they're going to be drinking because I'm doing the whole sober October thing. So it's got a little bit of a fizziness to it and kind of feels a bit like drinking a beer, even though it's not, and it's actually good for me.
Right.
Just a little mental thing that helps out a little bit.
Real quick, if anyone's interested in making their own SCOBY or making their own kombucha, basically all you need is water, sugar, tea, and a little bit of like store-bought kombucha or kombucha that you get from a friend. And you basically just heat up that water, mix everything together, cover it with like a cloth or like a coffee filter or something like that into a glass jar and just leave it to ferment. And after that, you have kombucha, and you can also take out the rubbery looking thing. That's the SCOBY. And if you save that, you can make your own kombucha.
Yeah, I've actually seen where someone said that a recipe for it, where someone said that actually GT Dave's original kombucha, like just the unflavored one, actually makes a really good base for making your own.
Yes, that is something. If you want to make your own, don't get flavored, because especially ones with citrus in it could sort of denature everything. You want to get something that's unflavored, untampered with. So there's that. Thank you, Paige. All right, so you mentioned you were still doing Sober October, so let us know how that's going for you.
It's going pretty good. I mean, I'll be...
No urges?
Oh, shit, yeah, there's urges. Like, yesterday I won't get into specifics, I had a god-awful fucking work day. You can bet your ass I wanted to leave there with a six-pack last night, but I probably wouldn't feel any better today if I did.
You probably feel worse.
Right, and a couple other days I've, been like, fuck, it would be really nice to have a beer today, or maybe a couple shots of whiskey, but at the same time, it's kind of nice that I sleep well. Energy level's a little bit higher. I don't know about, like, when I first started, I would have said, like, mental state and all that stuff is, like, way better, but that seems to kind of, like, have balanced out now, and it's just, like, good days, bad days, just like it was when I was drinking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But less fatigue, which is nice. I get more shit done. That's nice. It's a lot easier to stay focused and get things done whenever it's not, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm already tipsy. But
awesome.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference is probably just like being able to get more shit done in life now and sleeping better.
Well, of course, being healthier, right?
Yeah, I mean, that I shouldn't leave that out, and I almost did leave it out because I know I've already told you this, but I've actually, every single week since I started it, I've lost at least 2 pounds with no other alterations to any of my habits other than the removal of alcohol.
That's basically inflammation then, right?
Could be inflammation, could just be that I'm no longer picking up a bonus 1,000 calories a day from beer.
You're right.
And a whole lot of carbohydrate. Like, that cut a whole lot of sugar and calories out of my diet in one go. So
that's really good.
Yeah, so rather than just inflammation and water, I'm sure there actually has been some actual weight and fat loss just because I'm no longer giving my body a ridiculous excess of calories, because, it's basically rule number one of having a good diet is don't drink calories. That's pretty much rule one.
Right, yeah.
Because if you're drinking soda or beer, yeah.
Yeah, especially, it's not just calories. Like, kombucha has calories a little bit, but it's, I guess you could say, I kind of hate this term because very pretentious people use it in my experience, but empty calories.
Well, yeah, that's, to use your point on kombucha having calories, I'm looking at it right now. This bottle has, 2 servings in the bottle, so 4 grams of sugar and 60 calories for the entire bottle, which is a little over a 16-ounce bottle. A 12-ounce can of soda will have like 35 grams of sugar and over 150 calories.
Yeah.
All while giving you nothing that actually helps your body out. Except a little bit of caffeine.
Yeah. Well, if you need caffeine, coffee is obviously a better choice for you.
Coffee or tea. Tea's really good too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really good, man.
Yeah, it's still an overall positive. Do I think I'll stay permanently sober after this? No. I don't. Do I think I'll drink as much as I was before taking a month off? I also don't think I'll do that either.
Well, I certainly hope not.
Yeah, because it's pretty nice. There are times where I definitely wish I could, have a drink or two, but overall my life's probably better without it.
Probably better?
I mean, it's definitely better.
Okay. You sound a little undecided.
No, the only real bummer, I kind of wish I'd done like sober September or sober November instead of October, because I mean, fuck man, October is actually when like half of the really damn good beers come out. So I keep like looking like, fuck, I chose the wrong damn month.
You have time. You have time.
I've actually thought about toward the end of October picking like 1 or 2 of them and buying them and leaving them in my fridge for after it's over. But
yeah,
just because most of my favorite like flavors are the fall beers. So
mine too.
I keep looking at it. I'm like, damn it.
Well, it'll still be fall by the time October's over.
Yep.
All right. So, we got anything else? Ready to wrap up?
I think I'm ready to wrap it and tap it.
Wrap it and tap it. That's something different, Jonathan.
What were you talking about?
I don't even know anymore.
Then I've done my job.
All right. Well, this is episode 10, so next week is the Halloween episode. Can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah. What are we going to talk about on there? We're going to talk about candy, right?
We're going to talk about how ghosts are real.
Well, I mean, you're going to talk about how ghosts are real, and I'm going to make fun of you for thinking ghosts are real. So that's probably.
I don't give a shit. You can make fun of me. I have too many experiences and know too many people who have their own experiences as well to not believe something. But if yeah. So if any of you listening actually have your own ghost story or have a story from someone you know, send it to our email, which is theoryofanythingpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter that you can send it to, which is @ToA podcast. And we also have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/theoryofanythingpodcast. So if you have any of those stories, send it our way and we'll read them on air for you and discuss them and try to convince this asshole that ghosts are real.
You can even leave them in the YouTube comments if you want to. That's 4 ways for you to get your ghost stories into us, so I can tell you the ghosts aren't real. And that it is your own flawed human perception. That's a topic for next week.
Alright. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Adios.